Hi, this is Elizabeth Blandon from Blandon Law, here to protect and inform once again. Today's video is about the difference between authorized presence and status. I sometimes get the question, am I in legal status? And this video tries to explain what status is and the difference between that and being in authorized presence, which is also being here legally, but not being with status. And I usually get this question from people who enter the United States as visitors, but then what they do is they apply for an extension and they want to know, well, if I apply for an extension or apply to change my status to something else, like a student status, am I still legally in the United States? And what about if that extension or change of status application is denied? What happens then? We hope to answer it in the next videos, in the next scenes. In status is much like driving a car, in that when you enter the United States in any kind of status, for example, like visitor status, you're given a specific period of time that you can be here. When that period of time ends, that's it. You are no longer in status. Visitors for pleasure are usually given about 6 months. Visitors for business are usually given about 1 month. And during that period of time, a person is in status. Now, being with authorized presence is different. Authorized presence is that period of time when you are allowed to remain in the United States legally, but you are no longer in status. One of the examples is when you apply for an extension of your deadline to remain in visitor status, or you may request to change to perhaps a student or an investor or a multinational manager or executive or a professional. Until that petition is approved by immigration, you are in a period of authorized presence in that you are legally in the United States with authorized presence, but you are not in status. If your application is denied, you are also no longer in a period of authorized presence, and I'll explain why that's important later. Another example of when a person is in authorized presence is during the period of time that you're seeking asylum. An asylum case can take years because of the backlog that currently exists at the asylum offices, but during that period of time you have authorized presence and you're allowed to work in the United States. And another example is something known as Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. It's the DACA program. Persons who are in the United States and have this DACA program or another program called Temporary Protected Status, even though the word status is used, actually what you have is authorized presence to remain in the United States. And those persons with DACA and TPS, just like those persons who are seeking asylum, are allowed to work in the United States. And that shows that they're in authorized presence. Now, why is this important? Well, first of all, when your status or your authorized presence time ends, that's when you start accruing something that is known as unauthorized presence. That's when you run afoul of the law. It's not a problem necessarily when you're in the United States, but when it becomes a very real problem is when you're in the United States and you try to leave to go back either to your home country or anywhere else outside the United States. The problem won't be in leaving. The problem will be when you try to return to the United States. If you have been with unauthorized presence or for more than 6 months, for more than 180 days, you will not be allowed to return to the United States for a period of 3 years. And if you've been with unauthorized presence for over a year, you won't be allowed to enter the United States for 10 years. So for example, if you have someone in your family who petitions for you for residency, but you have the 10-year bar and you're outside the United States, you can't come into the country. So even though your family member petitions you and that petition is approved, you won't be eligible to come back to the United States unless you apply for something that's known as a waiver. And we explain that in other videos. I hope this video has been informative for you, and you can leave comments and also send questions to erblandon@blandon-law.com. We look forward to getting your questions so we can find out how we can further protect and inform. And for all our clients, we look forward to opening the door to your success.